If you were in business during the pandemic, you probably heard and used the P word. No, not that one. Pivot is what we're referring to. And you probably heard it enough times. And one of the biggest pivots that the retail industry witnessed was its digital acceleration and shift to e-commerce. In this next panel discussion, we're going to discuss with pure play e-tailers and e-commerce heads and retail firms the golden rules of getting e-commerce right. Please, could you welcome onto the stage, we have Leena Khalil, the co-founder of Mumzworld, Kunal Kapoor, the founder of Luxury Closet, Thomas Prom, the head of e-commerce for Virgin Megastore, Majed Tahan, the CEO of Danube Online, who'll be joining us remotely from Saudi, and your moderator, you've already met her this morning, Shruti Nair, the executive editor of Retail Me. The stage is yours.
Great, a very good afternoon. Hope you all had a lovely lunch. We're back for the sessions here at MRF for this lovely panel titled Getting the Golden Rules of E-Commerce Right. It is some topic, isn't it? E-commerce. There are so many different opinions, views, reports on the entire e-commerce landscape, especially in the region. I think the most recent one by Google was that the UAE e-commerce market is expected to surpass the UK e-commerce penetration as more businesses in the Gulf take steps to expand their online presence, which means the complaint, which was there before, is consumers are online but businesses aren't, is probably going to change, and very soon. There's another visa finding which highlights significant changes in attitudes towards e-commerce following the impact of COVID-19, with 64% of those surveyed in this region reporting an increase in their online spending and 87% saying that this will continue for good. There's another report by Zebra. More than half of decision makers surveyed believe they are completely trusted to fulfill online orders as promised, but only 38% of shoppers indicate complete trust in retailers. That is, only 1 in 4 shoppers actually trust retailers when it comes to fulfillment. Well, different opinions, different views, like I mentioned earlier. There's clearly few themes where consumers are going online, businesses are adapting to this need of the consumer. However, operations are still a little bit in a limbo at this moment. Starting an e-commerce operation, as we know, is quite easy, but getting it right, making it successful, and making it profitable is the challenge here. And today we have some retailers here up on stage with us who have sort of got it right, who have made it successful, and who have made it profitable. So please join me in welcoming Kunal, Leena, and Thomas onto the stage here. Great. So, Kunal, let me start with you, right? Your journey with the Luxury Closet started back in 2011, where re-commerce and pre-love clothing and all of that wasn't even much of a topic of conversation. Over the years, the sentiments of consumers have obviously changed towards both e-commerce and pre-loved. How has your journey been?
Well, just a quick introduction. So the Luxury Closet is a resale marketplace focused on the high end. So our top 3 brands that we resale are Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermes, and that kind of describes the sellers and what's in their closet, and all the buyers and what do they want. Most of the sellers come from the region. However, buyers are global, so 80+ countries across the world, because that's the kind of amazing products we find in the closets within the Middle East. Is the highest per capita spend on luxury, so kind of explains it. I think just to explain my journey, you can kind of do 2 snapshots. So 2011, 2012, which is when we started. So at that point of time, like half the people you tell the idea to think you're crazy, and half the people that you tell the idea to think you're genius. Okay, so now it could be either. It's really a coin flip. We don't know who's right. Now, it's a good thing that half the people think you're crazy, because if they don't, then you're probably not doing something innovative enough. Come 2021, we have like 9 unicorns, 3 public listings that do just resale. So it's really quite a different world. We're expecting 1 in 6 purchases to become pre-owned by the end of the decade. In countries like the US is already like 10%. In Japan, it's a similar number, and these companies are growing fast, which means that resale becomes larger than fast fashion globally. And as a channel of sale, it becomes larger than department stores globally. And all of these companies that are going to build this are essentially were startups until a few years ago. Some of them are public now. But you're seeing an emergence of like an entire new category, fueled for different reasons. I mean, the sustainability, economics just makes sense. So yeah, the journey has been very interesting, to say the least. And I'm glad to say that one side of the coin was right, thinking that it would work, and that's where we are today.
But that again shows a lot of foresight, right? This was way before this was even a trend and a thing that you started. And that probably is important. Same with you, Leena. Mumzworld, everything mother, baby, child. But it was never just about products for you, was it? It was about the community and content as well. And that is perhaps why it has been such a successful business model. And recently you got acquired by Tamer Group as well in Saudi Arabia. Congratulations on that. So since the acquisition, how has the strategy shifted, if at all?
Just to clarify on Tamer Group, so Tamer is the largest pharmaceutical distributor in the region, and they're super focused on the customer. So they do understand the customer from a health point of view, and that's an insight that's wonderful for us, because your healthcare needs as a human being kind of explode the minute you become a parent. And the whole journey from that angle is a completely different journey. So in fact, us coming together as a team has given us tremendous insight into how to serve our customer group better, how to provide better content to them, and how to create communities that are meaningful to not only their parenting journey, but their journey as an individual, from them taking care of themselves and taking care of their children.
Great. So it looks like it's going well then. Majed is joining us virtually from Saudi Arabia. Lovely to have you, Majed. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for having me remotely. Thank you.
Great. So quickly, if you can just take us through Danube Online and the whole e-commerce penetration that we've seen, because again, you're in the e-grocery market, one of the busiest that has been in the last 2 years. I'm sure you had to go through a lot of process changes, given that supply suddenly surged, there was demand suddenly surged, and all of that. So can you quickly take us through how the last year has been for Danube Online and how you're keeping up with these customer expectations?
Sure. Thank you very much. So what makes e-grocery special than any other e-business is that we deal with food, we deal with freshly produced, and that adds a bit of a challenge to dealing with the goods itself, because the goods are extremely, you can say, fragile. So we have a lot of policies and procedures around fulfilling the orders. Ever since the pandemic hit, actually, because we rolled out the Danube and Bin Dawood applications way before the pandemic. So while the pandemic surged, we were kind of ready for the surge in demand, but the surge was extremely high, and we liked the challenge, and we actually explored many other options to fulfilling the customer orders, and hence we are actually focusing on a lot of things. The main important focus for us is actually 3 pillars. We really focus on fulfillment rate. Whenever a customer orders, especially for groceries, they expect their baskets to come in full. So fulfillment rate is a very important aspect of our business. We also focus on on-time deliveries. On-time deliveries as well in the e-grocery, let's say for exact, because you're ordering food, so you're expecting it on a certain time, especially for the moms in their house, if they want to cook for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So you expect deliveries around a certain time. So we truly focus on this as well. The third main pillar for us is the customer service. So whenever a customer, goes through the hassle of actually reaching to you, whether it was on through a phone call or a WhatsApp message or even an email, so we have also to go the extra mile to serve this need or to serve his issue. So we're well known with our customer service center that we have to immediately solve any issues of customers. So dealing with these 3 pillars makes any business, any e-commerce or e-grocery business survive through the pandemic. even if that means you have to decrease the actual orders that you can fulfill, because you need to actually increase your capacity to be able to fulfill these orders according to these three pillars. During the pandemic and post the pandemics, getting orders was not the issue, fulfilling orders were. As you also mentioned, that the supply chain has been disturbed in the entire region and the entire world as well. In Saudi Arabia in particular, we had a lot of focus with the government and with all the ministries of ensuring the supply. And we were also, through the pandemic, conveying a message to our customers that do not panic buy, do not store. The supplies are there. We're actually closely monitoring with the government and all the actual stakeholders of this matter. And through the communication with us and all the other retailers, we were able to calm the crowd, calm the actual crowd and the population in Saudi Arabia. And we were able to convey the message that do not panic buy. Supplies are okay, demand is there, supply is there. And through these points, we were able to survive pandemic and post-pandemic.
Thank you, Majed, for that. It just summarizes the entire situation from the last year and how you're coping with it. Now, we have three e-tailers, pure play e-commerce players, and then we have Thomas here from Virgin Megastore. He's the head of e-commerce at Virgin. Virgin in itself is such a strong brand, right? So it's something that all of us can resonate with. We know when there's Virgin, it's a brand, there's an identity for it. For the e-commerce operation, which we discussed a little earlier during the CEO's conclave itself, we noticed that there is a disparity between the offerings in-store versus the offerings online, especially for retailers who've moved online. And that is a problem for consumers when they are trying to approach a brand and go to a brand for what it has to offer. How are you navigating around this issue at all?
So for Virgin Megastore, day one, when we started our omnichannel journey, we decided to go fully omnichannel, meaning every product in any store is available to be delivered anywhere. So even if we have only one collectible in one store, it will be something we can deliver. The challenge for us is definitely to have a stock accuracy and so we can deliver this product. It's key for us because we want the clients to remember that they purchase something with Virgin Megastore and not with a specific channel. And we strongly believe that the customer experience might start on social media, go through store, go back to e-commerce, and we actually embrace this type of journey. We don't mind a customer leaving a website after checking if the product is available in store, and we don't mind the customer going in-store, using the store as a showroom, and then ordering the product online. It's very challenging when it comes to tracking the journey, but we really think that as a brand, it's our mission. We want to make it easy for the customer, which means making it a little bit less easier for us.
Got it. Just coming to the second part of our conversation, essentially, and I'm going to start with you here, Kunal. So while e-commerce or re-commerce, which is what you're in, contributes to the circular economy, and there's this appeal from the masses for being purpose-driven and the sustainability-conscious masses and all of that, that is one side of things. But there is also a logistics and supply chain opportunity here with re-commerce, isn't there? So can you just walk us through the opportunities, the supply chain benefits of re-commerce in today's retail economy?
Sure. So maybe let me describe the complexity first and then illustrate what we have solved, and then we can look at the applications of it. So it's the best way to describe it is that it's a single SKU supply chain, which means that if 10,000 households or 10,000 sellers send us 10,000 products in a month from 10 countries, okay? And let's imagine this product is exactly the same. It's a Louis Vuitton Speedy 30 monogram bag, exactly the same bag. So we have to build a supply chain that can bring this piece in, even though it's the same, from 10,000 houses, and put it to the supply chain, photography, authentication, content, 10,000 times, not one time. And you kind of have to build all the logistics, but also the discoverability on the website and everything around this. So that's, and then you warehouse it, and then while you're warehousing it, the seller or you can perform a lot of operations on the products. You can change the prices, you can change the locations, things like that. So there is quite a lot of complexity. Now, having built that, first, there's defensibility for us. But when we talk about retailers, I think Farfetch is the best example. So we recently announced that we're powering the resale platform for Farfetch. What that allows Farfetch to do is offer the ability for their customers to resell its 23 brands of handbags from their closet in return for store credit. So the seller submits a product, we value it, Farfetch extends them the value immediately, and then we bring the value back to Farfetch according to our agreement. So it's literally trade-in. So we, long story short, enable trade-in for retailers in the luxury space. And then we're going to roll that across to a few more players regionally and then globally.
So since we're on this topic, I think, Majed, I'll come to you now, right? And you mentioned this before about deliveries. Consumers today are expecting same day or same hour delivery even today. And this obviously puts a lot of pressure on your back-end processes and operation. So while automation and fulfillment obviously helps with the warehouse side of things and the back-end operation side of things, what technologies would you recommend or have you used to integrate not just operations, but supply chain, finance, and logistics?
So the delivery window, or you can say the time frame for deliveries in the groceries, is very crucial. So because we are working in the major cities and in also a few other cities in Saudi Arabia, so what we usually do is we closely study all the actual surroundings of the store that we open in. We geofence our coverage area, and then we work backwards from there. So the more coverage we need to actually fulfill orders in, the more stores we need to add. So coming to your point as well, in dark stores or in automation, these options do help a lot in the fulfillment process. So it takes around 1.5 hours to fulfill a regular order manually, but this can go significantly low if you're using dark stores or some sort of automation. But that's not the key factor here. The key factor is also logistics. So you need to do a lot of studies around your geofencing coverage around every store, and you work your way from there. So we're introducing new pickup points or new stores. We're looking at this option now to be able to promise even a lesser fulfillment window. Ever also since the pandemic, people moved away from cash dealings, and that made us also can able to provide or supply these orders with no cash handling. Cash handling also takes a lot of time in terms of operations, so this is also eliminated now. We were an extremely cash-driven society. After the pandemic, the adaptation of credit cards and debit cards on the online portals is extremely high now. So we're also capitalizing on this. Supply chain, we actually work very closely with all our suppliers. We every week we do analyze the sales. We see which is the moving items. We have safety stocks of certain items that is also closer to the client. And if you put all these together in a seamlessly integrated platforms, that will give you the ability to promise a shorter delivery window. Hence, you'll be able to even more reach to the customer satisfaction. The goal is we still have a lot of challenges. We're working through it, and every time we want to introduce new feature and we want to further decrease the delivery window. So all these aspects are coming together. We used to have a lot of challenges regarding the logistics, regarding addressings, regarding the payment portals. All these are now no longer there. So it's actually the platform itself is growing to be really good. The entire ecosystem is improving. It's becoming more and more e-commerce friendly. Everything could be seamlessly integrated. It's now up to the retailers to be able to find solutions, because the infrastructure and the ecosystem is really helping now. This wasn't the case 10 years ago, and now it's actually very helpful, very challenging in a way that you have everything you need in the ecosystem, and now it's up to you to develop and integrate in the best way possible to be able to serve the customers.
Absolutely. So obviously the technologies are there and they are there at our disposal, but the key is to not work for technology, but make technology work for us. But I don't think any e-commerce conversation is complete without the involvement of returns, right? The big devil, the big villain in the whole retail chain. Leena, last time we spoke about this, you did mention that you had a whole team who were just addressing the issues regarding returns. So tell us more about the operations and processes with returns, because that is a huge problem till date in this entire retail space.
I think the most important element of return is the managing expectations and the communication. So yes, you have the logistic complexity of reaching over 150 cities for us and being able to collect and evaluate the return. But also there is the element of managing the customer expectation, especially if it's an essential item a mother is using for her child. So the return replacement timeline just becomes crazy. Her expectations are, you can't manage someone who needs something, especially if it's for their children. I'm a mother, and when it comes to my children, there's no compromise. So I think we are building slowly the communication piece around that and just improving that using the constant re-engineering of the process. Distances still remain to be a big problem. In the main cities, we try to do it within a very small window of hours, of 24 hours. But the technology will never help manage the expectation of the customer, especially if it's an essential item. There's a big difference between ordering chips and ordering milk for your baby. Yeah.
So, Thomas, can I ask you then, what is it that technology can help manage in that context? So recently, we've read that Virgin has moved on to the ERP systems of IBM and the likes of it. So what are you using technologies for, and what kinds of technologies are you using to elevate customer experiences today?
I think, during the last 10 years, technology have been a lot about delivering as much product as we can, as fast as we can. So great, you are a search engine when you do that. Basically, if you can find a product and get the product to the customer, you can address this very convenient part of e-commerce. Now, we still have a lot to build in terms of experience, in terms of curation. And what you can observe is that in some markets where the choice is huge, such as China, for instance, with Alibaba, where you have an extreme wide range of product, they do very well in live shopping, for instance, which is completely the opposite. It's extreme curation of product. So when it comes to the technologies that will help us, I strongly believe that we will see emerging technology that will make the content and merge the content with the retail technology. And live shopping is one of these technologies that are emerging and going to that direction, where you merge social media, videos, and shopping. But we're still at the very early stages of it. When we talk about headless commerce, for instance, it's a lot about improving the front-end performance. But I really think this logic of going with microservices will extend to third-party websites, and also to the back office, to how you manage your stock, how you manage micro transactions, the micro contracts you can have. So the blockchain will have a huge part to play with it, including your loyalty system, the relationship with your suppliers, in having a very unique SKUs if you have to track them in return. And this headless approach will also help moving to a more decentralized way of shopping, which will lead us to what we call Web 3.0, meaning something that is a little bit less centralized, more decentralized, where many players can participate to your customer journey. And the same way for us as omnichannel retailers, we are to embrace that a customer journey could be scattered through multiple channels. I think we'll need at some point of time to embrace that being inspired, discovering a new product will be scattered through multiple medias, multiple content, and we need to accept that we don't control all of them.
Right. I mean, what's happening now, it just feels like we're actually going back to the way retail was done in the past, but just with newer technologies, right? Like live shopping, for example, very similar to QVC and telebrands and home shop and all of that was there in the past. The platform is new, but the idea is still the same. And we've seen so much of that evolving. Earlier, it was like the corner shops where all the retailers or the sellers had that direct personal contact with the customers. They knew all of their customers. And today, data is enabling that. So it just feels like, although we're talking about the future, it's so ingrained in the past as well. In that context, I'll come to you, Kunal, right? So we see a lot of e-tailers or retailers trying to set up their e-commerce portals, a lot of websites, apps, all of that. But we've also seen e-tailers globally opening shops, having a physical presence in some way. And in fact, I think, was it this year where you launched your pop-ups with Majed for them? What potential do you see in that? Do you think that at this stage it is important to have a physical presence of some scale?
Good question. So what we did with the MAFO, we did a small pop-up. It was in Murdav city center, which was actually focused on sellers. We were encouraging their customers to come and sell their products. So it was not selling the product, but we do that as well. We previously had a pop-up at the Marina Mall, and we're now looking to open a full-scale store. So we're scouting spaces now. Look, it's another channel of sales, another channel to introduce the concept to the customers. We're not in a world where it's 80-20, which is 80% is online and 20% is retail. We're kind of opposite way around. So yeah, I mean, we want to use this format to introduce, because it's not just that we happen to be pure play e-commerce, but it's also about the concept. The concept that you can buy a pre-owned product instead of buying a new product, and that's the concept we want to introduce. Before I close my answer, I thought I'll share a funny story. Which is not related to this point, but kind of related. So today, my wife was on her phone. I asked her what she was doing, and she said, "I'm ordering sand." So I was like, I thought this is a joke. I was like, no, really, what are you doing? And she's like, "I'm ordering sand." And I was like, "You can order sand online? This is Dubai. I live in Arabian ranches. You can go like 5 minutes. This is sand." She's like, no, really, I'm ordering sand. And I was like, where on earth, especially in Dubai, are you going to find sand and an e-tailer trying to deliver you sand? And she's like, Mumzworld. So she ordered sand from Mumzworld. It's for a sand pit, but yeah, we got some sand from Mumzworld today.
That's a quick plug for Mumsworld as well. We get sand in Mumsworld, good to know. But what do you do with that sand though? Like what kind of sand is that?
It's sanitized sand for little children. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, so moving on from sand, let me come to you, Majed. So we've been talking about operational efficiencies and all of that, but what Kunal mentioned right when he started the conversation was about how consumers are also becoming more purpose-driven, more conscious, etc. When it comes to an e-commerce, e-grocer, food safety is a huge part of the conversation today. And I just wanted to bring in that topic a little bit as well. So as e-commerce thrives and becomes a large percentage of overall sales, many retailers are focused on maintaining food safety and promoting food safety. I'd be very interested to know how the changing fulfillment landscape will enable or ensure that they're meeting these food safety standards and requirements of the world today. Is that something you're looking into?
Yes, of course. Actually, this is something in our DNA. We know that technology is only an enabler. You cannot expect technology to do all the work for you. So we invest heavily in the customer experience. So the wealth in any online business is the customer experience. How are the customers feeling about your platform? We do this through so many ways. One of the ways we do that, and we are investing a lot of time and effort and training in our team members. And we empower them to take decisions. We empower them to actually go the extra mile to fulfill the need or to enhance the experience of our customers. One of the key things that we do in e-grocery, because also fruits and vegetables are among the highest selling departments. So the golden rule here for the pickers who picks the goods, who picks the fruits and vegetables, is that if you're not gonna feed this to your family, to your mom, to your kids, do not pick it up. We keep in mind that we actually do the picking from an actual supermarket. So there is another layer of quality checks and quality controls and food safety that is already in place in the actual supermarket. So on top of that, we add another layer of checking through our pickers, which makes the picker, again, rechecks the items he picks. So going to a stage where you actually empower your pickers to do the right picking and that they see right. And we also employ a lot of ladies pickers who do the shoppings. And this is also, we found that the ladies does these in let's say in a more efficient way. So because they have the it's within their DNA. As was just mentioned, that if it comes to the kids, there is no compromise. So you have this in the ladies, so we do capitalize on this. We do empower the pickers and packers, and we do all these checks. But the focus here is we want to enhance the customer experience. We know that also through customer service, we have an unmatched customer service, immediate solving of issues. You have sometimes that an item is not meeting the actual needs of a client. We immediately replace. Our return team is different than our fulfillment team. So we do the returns immediately. We also don't ask a lot of questions regarding why are you returning this. You try to minimize the interaction with the customers in terms of returns. So we did this, and by the years, we have seen that the returns has decreased significantly. Our return team is very active. They do their immediate returns, and this all works in the favor of the brand and enhance the overall customer experience.
Great, thanks, Majed. So I think all of this brings us to the future, right? We explored a lot of it in the first session where we spoke about NFTs, where we spoke about AR, VR integration, but not going that deeply into it, but speaking about Web 3.0, which is the here and now, which is already what we're in. But it sort of is an amalgamation of content, community, context, and of course, product being the overarching theme, right? I'll come to you, Leena, because I think your entire business model itself is a loyalty program. It functions in a way that you are integrating all of these elements like we started for this. Where do you see the future of Web 3.0 being integrated into commerce?
So I think, like you said, history is not changing. We're still focused on the consumer. We're still learning what best suits them. And as they evolve and as the attention span that we can play with changes because it's getting shorter and shorter, we're also having to adapt to grab that attention. Luckily, that when it comes to making important decisions, we have a lot more attention to play with. And it's literally how many minutes or how many seconds you have on the consumer's time can you then convert them into either to be your loyal customer, read your content, or to buy your product. And all the AI and all the work everyone's doing is around that one subject. And you can look at it in multiple different ways, but we're all chasing those few seconds. And I think over time, the consumer is getting overwhelmed with the amount of information and amount of stimulation they're getting, and simplifying it and trying to deliver them to the answer that's trustworthy. I think trust is going to be a big thing in whatever we design going forward, and reliability. So whatever you deliver, as long as you're a trusted source of information and you're a reliable service provider, you will win.
Right. Yeah. So I'll come to you now, Thomas, right? So you spoke about live shopping a little earlier, and we have seen a lot of retailers and e-tailers in the region incorporating it and trying their hand at it. But the overarching objective needs to be met. So at this time, I just want to know, instead of using technology for the sake of technology, why are retailers, or why should retailers like yourself implement an AI, AR, VR? What is really the tangible benefits that you see? And have you already started experimenting with it right now?
Today, what we decided to do at Virgin Megastore is really to play one of the missions of the retailers that is not very often addressed, actually, especially with big pure players. When you offer to customers 1,000 iPad cases, at the end of the day, you are telling the customer you are in charge of selecting the one you want. And as a customer, if I buy the 10 dirham iPad case, I will blame myself if the product is not a good product. So first of all, we address it by selecting the right product. So we decided to limit our selection of product to only the cool product, the one we believe in. And we really want to be a trusted source when it comes to selecting the right product. That is definitely making our life easier when pushing the right product to the right customer, because we already pre-selected the product we want to sell. Then the next step is pushing the right product to the right customer at the right moment. So the context information you can get is key. So that will come with customer data management platform and addressing the right product to the right customers using this customer data platform. But definitely, I really think that if you want to be perceived as a retailer, you should not export this workload to the customer. You should not tell the customer it's your responsibility to select the right product, and I don't care. You should not do that. And this is really something we care about a lot at Virgin Megastore, is the curation of product.
100%. I wish we had more time to speak more about this, but we have a few other sessions in line waiting. But thank you so much for all of those insights, Kunal, Leena, Thomas, and Majed. Thank you for joining us virtually from Saudi. And hope to see you in person soon. And thank you again to all the audience for staying with us for this session on getting the golden rules of e-commerce right.